Tonight on Business Live, banks given up to 2025 to restore minimum paid up capital as industry records huge loss. Ahead, we will engage a financial analyst on the latest Bank of Ghana's directive. Also in this bulletin, brace yourself for more increases in the price of LPG if government continues to ignore calls for a review of the tax build-up. We will hear from the LPG Marketers Association, which blames the current price hikes on international market development and depreciation of the local currency.
That you put on the price of LPG goes a long way to decrease its consumption. And while the taxes are addition to the cost price of LPG, you can see that the taxes are having negative effects on consumption.
Plus, government statistician Professor Amoah projects Ghana can generate 1.5 million jobs in the next few years if tourist sites are efficiently managed.
The tourism sector would be the #1 foreign exchange earner. The second perspective is the employment potential of the sector, and again the ministry is projecting that by 2027 the sector should directly and indirectly create about 1.4 million jobs.
We've got details of these and many others coming your way shortly. Please stay. Pleasure, I could stay on. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Let's move on to our very first story. And banks have a maximum of 4 years ending 2025 to restore the minimum paid up capital. That's according to the Bank of Ghana. Well, this is as a result of capital shortfall arising solely from the redecongestion losses. There is more in this report.
According to the Bank of Ghana, derecognition losses emanating from the domestic debt exchange program will be spread equally over a period of 4 years, effective 2022, for the purposes of capital adequacy ratio computation. The International Financial Reporting Standards states that derecognition refers to the removal of an asset or liability from an entity's balance sheet. Due to the impact of the DDEP on the banks, the Bank of Ghana announced some policy and regulatory reliefs for banks that fully participated in a debt exchange to reduce the effect on their operations. These policy and regulatory reliefs were informed by stress tests on banks that reviewed the potential impact of the exchange on banks' solvency, liquidity, and profitability. Meanwhile, information reaching Joy Business indicates that the banks recorded more than 10 billion cedis loss in 2022. This is as a result of the impact of the DDEP on their operations. The Bank of Ghana, in its January monetary policy report, said banks operating in Ghana wrote off about 5.9 billion cedis as bad debt in December 2022. However, this was initially underestimated.
All right, so joining us via Zoom for his perspective is Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah. Dr. Amoah, grateful you could join me on Business Live. Now, first off, what do you make of this directive, and especially when the Bank of Ghana is attributing the capital shortfall to derecognition losses? Help us understand why.
Yeah, again, it is simply the reflection of what has happened in the economy over the past, year or so, and the fact that these banks also operate within the economy. So whatever happens in the bigger economy will definitely reflect on the performance of the banks and to a large extent on the balance sheets of these banks. So it is not surprising that the banks are reporting some of this bad performance for this particular year. Maybe hopefully even next year, because we are still not at the end of this challenge that we currently face.
In your view, do you think that banks are in the capacity to shore up their capital following the domestic debt exchange program?
But banks will have to, because even before the domestic debt exchange program, if you look at the exchange rates and the way the exchange rate has really, been highly unstable and very weak for the CD, you can clearly look at the fact that in 2018, the recapitalization of 400 million was in an equivalent of about $83 million. As we speak now, if you just do a one-on-one match of the US dollar against the the 400 million that we are currently operating with is about $40 million. Clearly, without domestic debt exchange program, there will have been the need to do some form of recapitalization. This has been worsened by the domestic debt exchange program. Why? Because most of the banks heavily invested in government instruments which have not performed as predicted, and that has, reflected in some of the losses that the banks are reporting, which will have to be absorbed by the capital of these banks. So clearly, the domestic debt exchange program has a role to play. Nonetheless, the major economy that we are confronted with, if you look at it through the exchange rate condition and situation, you can clearly see that there is about high time that the central bank will call for some form of the need to shore up capital from the owners of the banks.
I'm trying to wonder what would be the implication for banks that are not able to meet the 2025 deadline.
I believe the Bank of Ghana will have a roadmap and a way out for banks. We have gone through a similar situation in the past where there was a clear path for domestic banks where there was a need to increase bank capital some time ago in the past. The domestic banks were given some time to recapitalize or to increase their capital, whilst the foreign banks were also given another route to use to increase their capital. So clearly, I believe strongly that BOG will be in discussions with these banks that may have some difficulties, and these banks have to present a recapitalization plan to the central bank. And if the central bank is satisfied with the recapitalization plan, I believe clearly the central bank will agree and then make sure that these banks do not simply go down the water as a result of not bad banking, but simply because of the need to recapitalize.
We are indeed grateful, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, for your time. He is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, helping us appreciate what the directive by the Bank of Ghana. And we've got to move on to some other stories. And the International Monetary Fund has indicated that it will move quickly to approve Ghana's program as soon as Ghana gets the financing assurance from the Paris Club of Bilateral Creditors. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has indicated that Ghana would secure assurance from the Paris Club in the coming weeks. Abebe Selassie, who is the director of the IMF African Department, addressed the press at the just ended annual spring meetings.
On the status of the program with Ghana, I mean, we had reached staff level agreement, as you know, last December, and we're now comfortable that all of the measures required for us to present the program to our executive board are complete, except for, the required financing assurances from external creditors. We are very encouraged by the steps that the government has taken over the last several months since the program request. It's been very difficult time, of course, very difficult, very significant, measures that have had to be taken. Initial steps that the government has taken are very encouraging. At the same time, what is important to recognize is, the challenges that Ghana has are something that need to be addressed over the course of the program period, over the next 3-4 years, to bring the fiscal deficit, to the level it requires, and underpinning that the reforms that are needed, think initiatives like revenue mobilization that are going to be really important to be done in a multi-year process. So this is a really very important first step. And, reducing the macroeconomic imbalances Ghana faces in a durable way is really the only way to move beyond having to rely on exceptional financing of the type that the IMF provides. Again, to look back to where I started, we're very comfortable where all of the steps that Ghana has done, and that's why also we're urging creditors to step forward and provide the financing assurances that's needed for us to present the program to the board as soon as possible. We're very optimistic and keeping fingers crossed this will happen in the next few weeks.
And more on the economy, and the Ghana cedi is expected to exhibit mixed performance against the US dollar for the second week running. Well, this is because the market players will be eagerly awaiting the updates on the expected International Monetary Fund support program. There's more in this report.
The cedi fell in value across the major trading currencies last week due to the renewed demand for the dollar and the other major foreign currencies. The local currency lost 4.37% against the US dollar to close trading at a mid-rate of about 11 cedis 95 pesos to the dollar. This came about after 2 weeks of sustained appreciation against the American greenback. The Bank of Ghana injected about $3 million on the spot market and allocated $20 million to the bulk oil distribution companies, which some analysts said was insufficient to meet market demand. There are still uncertainties on the market, and some market watchers believe a clear statement regarding the country's program from the fund will calm the worries.
On to one of our headline stories, and brace yourself for more LPG price increases. That's according to the LPG Marketers Association, which is blaming the government for its entrenched position over calls for a review in the petroleum tax build-up. According to Vice President of the association, Gabriel Kumi, existing taxes and levies imposed on petroleum products need to be rationalized to beat down prices of petroleum products. Now, speaking earlier on the marketplace, it said the international market development and the depreciation of the cedi are to blame for the recent 8% increase in the price of LPG.
The factors influencing this rise in price are still the same. They still remain the price of crude oil on the international market, and of course, the stability or otherwise of our cedi. If you look at the previous window, crude oil was being sold under $80 per barrel. But as we speak now, crude oil is hitting $90 per barrel. And that is an increase of about 13–14% in the price of crude oil over the previous window. And once crude oil goes up, you expect the price of finished product on the international market to also go up. And that has happened. Unfortunately, our cedi for the past 2 months saw some appreciation, but it was relatively stable over the previous window. And even figures we are picking from today indicates that the cedi has started getting a little bit weaker against the dollar. So these are the main factors. Once your cedi is not showing enough strength to outweigh whatever increase that may come in terms of the crude oil price, you are likely to see an increase in the price of the product. We believe that taxes are the first step government must take to ensure that the price of LPG comes down. One will say how much the price is if the taxes are removed and crude oil still goes up, we will still have the same effect. I'll say no. Any peswa that you put on the price of LPG goes a long way to decrease its consumption.
Now, the president of the Institute of Internal Auditors Ghana, Harriet Akoa Kakari, is calling on government to expedite processes in passing the internal audit bill into law. This is in the wake of increased infractions like corruption and misappropriation recorded in the Auditor General's report. According to her, the bill will ensure these financial malfeasance by various state institutions be curbed. Now, speaking to Joy Business at the 2023 launch of the African Federation of Institute of Internal Auditors Conference, she maintained that this will also ensure best practices within her outfit.
It is for advocacy. You see, it is for advocacy. People have the perception that internal auditing is all about accounting, but it's a profession on its own. And we need to let people know that we have to stand on our own. We also have certifications that we need to promote. If somebody is a certified internal auditor, the person has to be recognized and treated as somebody who is a chartered accountant. But that is what we are lacking as a nation. And I believe that getting the bill, all these things will be streamlined, and internal auditors can also be on their own as professionals and play the role that they have to play with all the support that they will get from the government and all other stakeholders. We are looking at a holistic approach for Africa, because there are other countries in Africa who would also need to be backed by an Act of Parliament. So global and Africa as a whole are giving us what we need to be able to move on with that. So very soon, I'm sure we'll start the process and get it done.
Let's now touch on tourism because government statistician Professor Kobnenim has projected the tourism sector to generate about 1.5 million jobs in the next few years if tourist sites are efficiently managed. According to him, the new survey the Ghana Statistical Service is conducting will also indicate whether the sector has the potential to be the #1 foreign exchange earner as projected by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. Take a listen.
The Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture is projecting that our tourism sector should be the #1 foreign exchange earner based on their strategic plan. So they're setting 2027 as the timeline where the tourism sector would be the #1 foreign exchange earner. The second perspective is the employment potential of the sector, and again the ministry is projecting that by 2027 the sector should directly and indirectly create about 1.4 million jobs. This domestic and outbound tourism survey is basically responds to one question: how attractive are our tourist sites and the number of people who visit these tourist sites. We're currently in the field conducting the Ghana International Traveler Survey. Heading into 2023, that is the latter part of the year, we're going to roll out the two other surveys, which is the accommodation unit survey and the tourism establishment survey. So these surveys would help us put together a tourism satellite account and track the country's potential in gaining the 1.4 million jobs that we seek to get, and also getting in excess of 1.5 billion USD from the sector. As I indicated, it's going to provide us with comprehensive information, and as part of the comprehensive information, we're going to see which sites they are visiting, what facilities are available, and the key word is how attractive are our tourist sites and whether it holds the potential to be the #1 foreign exchange earner and also create the 1.4 million jobs as the ministry has indicated.
More on tourism. Wondering where to have your next vacation after continuously working for months without rest? Look no further. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel and Safari Resort, otherwise known as Jirapa Dubai, located in the Jirapa municipality, is there for you. Now, they have in abundance a sea of different species of animals that you would have loved to travel out of the country to see. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam joined some revelers to the Safari Resort, and here is his report from Jirapa.
The latest addition to the plethora of services rendered by Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, otherwise known as Jirapa Dubai, to revelers is the Safari Resort. At the Safari Ranch, the guests are offered a chance to see a variety of different species of animals, including lions, hippos, zebras, and many more. The team joined some revelers to take a tour around the Safari Ranch to have a feel of it. We were led by the tour guide, Aziz Pelpo, otherwise known as Ras Bob. The first place visited was the home of the antelopes, peacocks, wallabies, and the big turtles located around the entrance garden of the hotel. Rolling out of the hotel and heading to the Safari Ranch, which has a fence of 3.4 kilometers, we first spotted the alpacas, which are from the camel family.
Alpacas are native to South America, where they are reared mostly for the wool. They are strictly herbivorous. They depend on leaves, grass, and shrubs. So over here, we have planted maize and millet purposely for the alpacas. And because Southern America, they come from very colder temperatures, when they come here, routinely we shave them, especially when the temperatures are very hot. But because we are not rearing them in large quantities for those purposes, it's just for tourism purposes. So when we realize they are feeling very warm, we shave them routinely.
What do you use the things to shave off?
Oh, for like pillows.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and also we are keeping some for our museum as well.
Next to see was the amphibious hippopotamus.
An adult hippopotamus weighs between 1,300 to 1,800 kilograms, and they are able to feed about 40 kilograms of food on daily basis. The hippopotamus is strictly herbivorous. They don't take meat or flesh. They depend on leaves, grass, shrubs, and vegetables for their lives. And they are semi-aquatic, meaning they are able to live both on land and in water. Out of 24 hours a day, the hippopotamus spends about 16 to 18 hours inside the water. They mate in the water, they give birth in the water, they poo in the water. In fact, they have a mechanism that allows them to sleep inside the water.
We also bump into half a dozen of zebras. And then also, we saw maze of geese and jackals. What about the almighty lion and the lionesses? They are not only here, but roars as well.
You can have one male, that is a lion, can have between 15 to 20 females. But you can never have more than one male in a group. They will fight to death. Either you surrender or you die. So when you surrender, the weaker one will surrender, then you leave the family. Or the stronger one will have to kill you. So lions are strictly polygamous. They are highly polygamous. So you can have one male to like 15 to 20 females. But you can never have more than one male in a group.
We cannot end at all without seeing the first animal that was brought to the safari ranch, a baboon nicknamed KK. We ended the tour at the man-made lake where the revelers went for a cruise. Two of the revelers who shared their thoughts with me says it is a lifetime experience and which will have an encore.
Most interesting part was the safari. My first time seeing, or let me say that I had to get close to a zebra. I saw hippopotamus, I saw jackal, I saw baboon, and with interesting names. One is called KK. And then also I saw, what else did I see? I saw lion, and then the lion actually roared at me. I got too close and I think it felt threatened, but it's in cage, which is very, very, very safe. And one thing I realized over here is that all the friendly animals are left under free range, so they move about freely, but those that are dangerous is kept within a confined area and very, 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 very safe. They cannot even break it to be out there. So it's been, I mean, I've had the cruising. I went to the man-made lake where you can have your beautiful drinks and dinner after all of it. So all in all, it's been like a wonderful experience. It's a lifetime experience, something that I would want to come back to all over and over again.
I got so scared. You know, I saw the white lion. We're trying to take some selfie. They roar. I almost threw my phone away. That was an amazing experience. I have never seen such before. I saw hippopotamus. I saw that big eland. Saw zebra. I saw the one that looks like wild cats. I don't even know their name. You know, you can see right here. What's the name? Peacock. You can see right there. Tortoise. Aha! Please make time and you'll love it.
For them, it is more worth being here than traveling out to other countries to see same animals at a higher cost.
So please, make time, come. It could be for corporate bodies, companies, institutions. You want to have your conferences, you want to have your event, please go no yonder. Just come right here. We have the space. We have the best food, we have the best customer experience for you, we have the full capacity for you. If it's for family, friends, please take time off. Come here, enjoy love, rejuvenate your love. If it's for, what else? You can hear the sound of the birds. We are here, Jirapa.
They are also excited about the reception they had upon their arrival and stay at the hotel.
What am I expecting to see? Am I going to see the normal things I see in every resort? I got to the entrance, I said, okay, this is architectural pollution. In the first place, the building is very nice, it's unique. I love the fact that it's white and dainty. Then we come in and then we are met by beautiful and welcoming staff. And then we go in to enjoy their food, the local dishes. We decided not to do anything continental because we are coming from where we've eaten a lot of rice. So we had the TZ, we had the guinea fowl.
You go to the restaurant, the food, oh my God. The local food is, if it's continental, it's Everything is on point. We have all the facilities you can think of. This morning I went to the gym. I feel fit. Tomorrow morning I'll be right there.
You've just seen the lions roar. It's not at any other place but the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel. There are several dozens of animals right here. Why wouldn't you also try? MB here, reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Jirba.
All right, so Rafik, myself and my director, we shall certainly visit Jirapa, Dubai. And that's it for the bulletin for tonight. I am Pius Kojubaka. Let's connect same time tomorrow. For more business stories, you can get them on myjoyonline.com/business. Always a pleasure serving you.